This is Joab Frank Chakaza with the midday news. First, the headlines. Malawi observes International Anti-Corruption Day with calls for collaboration to end corruption. MHRC worried with delays to implement social protection program. Oxfam says 2020 a mixed bag in fighting gender-based violence. And in sports, FAM cautions against failure to adhere to COVID-19 preventive measures. Now the news in detail. Malawi today joins the rest of the world in commemorating the International Anti-Corruption Day. The national theme for the day is Act Now, Fight Corruption for a Better Malawi. President Lazarus Chakwera attended the commemoration event in Blantyre. Meanwhile, Anti-Corruption Bureau Director General Renek Matemba has stressed on the need to seal loopholes in procurement in public service where corruption is rampant. Matemba was commenting on calls by the National Anti-Corruption Alliance for stakeholders to collaborate in sealing loopholes that led to about 600 billion kwacha loss of the country's national budget to corruption annually. The Alliance chairperson Moses Mkandawire said this as he shared his views ahead of the International Anti-Corruption Day that is being observed today.
The National Anti-Corruption Alliance observes that Malawi is losing a lot to corruption, hence the need for stakeholders to frame new strategies on curbing proliferation of the vice. Chairperson of the Alliance, Moses Mkandawire, says every year the country is losing 30% of its annual budget to corruption, impacting on development progress in the process.
The laws and regulations are there. But what is much more needed is the change of mindset. I think that's very fundamental for all of us, particularly starting with those that are working in public sector, because they're the ones that are managing and administering the resources that are meant to develop this country. So that's very important.
Anti-Corruption Bureau Director General Renek Matemba concedes that there is more rot in the country, particularly through procurement processes.
We are losing a lot of money through public procurement, and especially on the part of public officers. I think if we can reach a point where we always remember that we have a duty to provide to the people of Malawi, to serve them better, avoid cases of abusing our offices, I think we'll be able to serve the people of Malawi better.
Globally, it is estimated that over $2 trillion is lost to corruption annually. This year, ACB rolled out a month-long awareness exercise on evils of corruption in the run-up to the World Anti-Corruption Day as part of drawing public support in the fight against the vice.
The Malawi Human Rights Commission, MHRC, says it is worried that government has not yet implemented the social protection program to bail out persons with disabilities and the elderly from acute poverty and total destitution caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. MHRC chairperson Reverend Patrick Sempere, who was flanked by other MHRC commissioners during a press briefing in Mzuzu last night, says it is an outright violation of human rights to note that the marginalized were left out despite resources for the same being available. A report by the Office of the Ombudsman has revealed that money which was meant to address COVID-19 shocks ended up in pockets of some few individuals. About 172,000 vulnerable Malawians were earmarked to get 35,000 kwacha every month. Now, the Democratic Progressive Party, DPP, has accused the governing Malawi Congress Party of attempting to take the country back to one-party state. DPP spokesperson Brown Mpinganjira alleged during a media briefing in Blantyre yesterday that the MCP is in a scheme of buying out DPP supporters. More in this report by Emmanuel Chibwana.
The DPP thinks MCP is either removing the party from the state of Malawi. At a news briefing in Blantyre, Brown Mpinganjira, party spokesperson, wondered why the MCP-led government is victimizing the former President Peter Mutharika and his lieutenants. Party organizing secretary Chimomo Chipungu accused the ruling party of being clueless. He said a move by President Lazarus Chakwera to open an embassy in Jerusalem is suicidal. Malawi government has always maintained that opening an embassy in Jerusalem is symbiotic to both countries. Government has now and again denied any schemes of witch hunting targeting the TPP. For ZBS in Blantyre, this is Emmanuel Chwana.
Meanwhile, the Malawi Congress Party spokesperson, Reverend Maurice Montali, has dismissed the allegation by the main opposition party, saying MCP respects principles of multi-party democracy. President Lazarus Chakwera has appointed Dr. Stephen Kayuni as new Director of Public Prosecutions, replacing Mary Kachale. Ministry of Justice spokesperson Pirani Masanjala has confirmed this, saying Kachale has been assigned other duties at the office of the President and Cabinet. Meanwhile, the President has emphasized on the need to implement power devolution in city councils. He was speaking in Blantyre yesterday after meeting Zomba City Council officials. Zomba City Council Mayor Benson Bula said the council has the potential to become an economic hub in the eastern region.
Our plans seems to be the same as what His Excellency the State President, Dr. Lazarus Chakwera, has, to say that we should at least aim high. In fact, I talked more on the problem of the city boundary, as you know that for every employment to be there, we also need to have factories and or industries. So as Zomba State Council, we have a limited space such that even somebody come to have an industry, it is impossible for us. But I'm sure that with the meeting that we had this afternoon, and maybe also with what we've been writing the Ministry of Lands as well as the local government, I'm sure one day this will materialize. The Zomba Stadium has really brought us a problem in terms of government revenue or city revenue, by the way, because as Zomba City Council, we have one team which is Red Lions. So this Red Lions takes the Zomba Stadium as its home ground. As such, instead of collecting whatever they have to give us, they give it to outsiders. So it's my plea that the stadium has to finish as early as possible, so that at least some of the problems that we face as a lot of revenue has to be sourced from that, get collections.
African Union and European Union have advised government to scale up efforts to ensure more youths are employed for the country's socio-economic growth. EU Commissioner for International Partnerships Jutta Upilainen and EU Commissioner for Human Resource Science and Technology Sarah Mbi Anyang Abo shared their thoughts at the opening of an AU-EU conference on youth and employment in Lilongwe. You're watching the news on Zodiac. We have more news shortly. Welcome back. You're with me, Job Frank Chakaza. The headlines. Malawi observes International Anti-Corruption Day with calls for collaboration to end corruption. MHRC worried with delays to implement social protection program. Oxfam says 2020 a mixed bag in fighting gender-based violence. In sports, farm cautions against failure to adhere to COVID-19 preventive measures. Moving on with the news, Oxfam has described the year 2020 as a mixed bag in as far as fighting against gender-based violence is concerned. Speaking at a national event in Doha yesterday to mark the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, the organization's country director, Lingalireni Mihoa, observed that there is more that needs to be done to fight the vice at national level. First Lady Monica Chakwera, who is also Oxfam's ambassador for the End Violence Against Women and Girls campaign, said everyone has to take part in ending the violence against women and girls. Anyango Nkoma reports.
Oxfam Country Director Lingalireni Mibawa observes that there has been heightened attention on cases of gender-based violence with increased reportage in media in the year 2020. She says cases of gender-based violence have risen in the year, particularly due to impunity on the part of perpetrators. Mibawa has since challenged government to consider allocating more resources to the Ministry of Gender if the country is to make strides in the fight against gender-based violence. She said this Tuesday in Doha at a national event to mark 16 days of campaign against gender-based violence. Meanwhile, one of Oxfam trustees, Professor Nick Chisman, says they are committed to supporting Oxfam and other partners in ending violence against women and girls. First Lady Monica Chakwera has implored on various stakeholders to join hands in the fight against rape and defilement. Doha district is one of the core districts of Oxfam's work, where it is implementing projects together with Girls Empowerment Network GNET with financial help from Irish Aid, Oxfam Hong Kong, Oxfam Canada, Oxfam America and Comic Relief. For Zodiak in Doha, this is Anyango Nkoma reporting.
As the country continues to observe 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, authorities in Kasungu have singled out poor coordination among stakeholders as a major challenge hampering completion of gender-based violence cases in courts. Senior Resident Magistrate Baya Kamanga told a panel discussion conducted to mark the launch of the campaign in the district that stakeholders must unite in proving such cases in courts as determinations are made based on available evidence. This comes at a time a total of 107 girls are reported to have been defiled in the district this year. Nonkubu reports.
The 16 Days of Activism campaign in Kasungu has been launched at a time 107 girls are reported to have been defiled for the past months, but the progress of such cases is yet to be known, a development which has worried child-centered organizations. Making his contribution at the panel discussion marking the commemoration of the campaign, Senior Resident Magistrate Bia Kamanga blamed poor coordination among stakeholders as one of the factors hampering the progress and the success of such cases. He says courts rely on the strength of evidence to make determination and not public assertions.
So there is need for police to do the investigations properly. There is need for the hospital to make their assessment properly on the victims of gender-based violence, so that the prosecution can have enough evidence to prove before the case, so that even the offences themselves are proved beyond reasonable doubt.
Chairman of Kasungu District Council, Councillor Charles Binya, expressed concern that the district has been identified as one of the hotspots of gender-based violence in the country due to an increase in defilement and rape cases. He has since called for collaboration among stakeholders to fight gender-based violence in the district. For Zodiac, this is Noah Nkubwi, Kasungu.
Treasury has announced the opening of IFMIS Academy in Lilongwe to help equip public officers in public finance management under the IFMIS system. The Line Minister Felix Mlusu said this in Lilongwe Tuesday when he opened the 2.1 billion kwacha one-stop office complex for the Treasury cashier that will ease travel challenges that pensioners encountered. Accountant General Jean Mnyenyembe has held construction of the complex as pensioners traveled to different locations to access services. We have more in this report filed by Western Guta.
Minister of Finance Felix Mlusu says government will open an information financial management system IFMIS Academy in Lilongwe to increase intake of financial officers who will be operating the government finance system. He said previously people used to train at College of Medicine in smaller numbers, but now 4 classes will be conducted at the same time. The minister said this when opening a 2.1 billion kwacha Treasury cashier one-stop office complex in Lilongwe. He further said as managers of public finances, those in the the Treasury should have knowledge of the finance system to accurately discharge their duties.
We'll be doing continuous training of the people that will be working on IFMIS. As you know, IFMIS is our core accounting function that enables us to do all accounting operations of government. And these people, they need continuous training, they need continuous upgrading. So we have set up this academy, which we don't have at the moment.
Accountant General Jean Munyenyembe has held construction of the complex, as previously pensioners traveled to different locations to access services.
When you look at this building, you will see that it has a very big space where they will be housed, and when we finish furnishing, they will be seated there comfortably.
Construction of the complex, which delayed for 9 years against the initial 2 years and was to initially cost 900 million kwacha, will house the IFMIS Academy, pension management and gratuities, among other things. For Zodiak in Lilongwe, this is Western Guta reporting.
And now to sports. Football Association of Malawi says it will punish regional teams that will be engaged in football activities, as all leagues except competitions involving national teams and the Super League of Malawi remain suspended due to COVID-19. FAM's General Secretary Alfred Gunda told us that some football clubs have resumed their activities, hence the warning. Bright Kanyama is going to follow up on this story and give us a report later. But for now, this is what we had time for in this bulletin. As we go, another look at the headlines. Malawi observes International Anti-Corruption Day with calls for collaboration to end corruption. MHRC worried with delays to implement social protection program. Oxfam says 2020 a mixed bag in fighting gender-based violence. In sports, FAM cautions against failure to adhere to COVID-19 preventive measures. Log on to our website, zodiacmalawi.com, for more news. Remember to wear a mask always when you're in a crowded place to help contain the spreading of COVID-19. Goodbye.